So I was able to play Code Veins closed beta this past weekend. Thank you, Bandai Namco, for sending me a code. Now, this game was meant to be released last year, 2018, but it was delayed and we never got like a new release date, which was disappointing because I was really looking forward to this game. So it's coming out now in 2019 this year. They haven't said when exactly. So the closed beta was this past weekend, and I just wanted to give my first impressions. I was able to play. I signed up and I got a code. So I just want to share my thoughts on the game. So to start off with, I'm just gonna say that I had a lot of fun playing the beta. It was really fun. I was able to play with a friend who also got a code, and the two of us we had a lot of fun playing the multiplayer. And just playing through the prologue, it gave me that sense that these games, these Souls-like games, give that each step I gave, I was discovering new enemies, new things. Each encounter was exciting as I was facing a new foe. Progression, I just kept moving forward, finding new items and new ways to get around. Each save point was relief as I could recover and keep my progression. So I was hooked right away just playing through the prologue. And when I did the high difficulty mission, which was the multiplayer space, I had a lot of fun just grinding and killing monsters and playing with my friends. So that's the less objective things out of the way. So I had a ton of fun, and I'm thinking I'm gonna buy the game. Like there are a few things that I disliked, but overall I really liked it, and I just had a lot of fun. Like when the beta was over, when I got through all the content, I wanted to keep playing. Like I wanted there to be more for me to do. So that's always a good sign. Now, if we get to the actual specific things I like, the first thing I'll say is that the character creator in this game is probably one of the best I've ever seen in an RPG. There's just so many options to create a character that I spend like half an hour in the character creator just designing my character. The first like half of that maybe was like looking through all the options and seeing like how many different things I can change and do with the character. And after I went through all of them, I just created Nezuko from the anime Kimetsu no Yaiba, which is airing now. So this character creator is really good. There's a ton of options. You can create a lot of unique, cool looking characters. And you can also do what I did and just recreate anime characters because all the options are there. You can have like different color eyes and edit both eyes separately. You can select your character what mask they're gonna wear when they're out in the field. You can select like their base outfit and even change like the color of each individual piece of the outfit and even remove, for example, like a sleeve on one arm and leave the sleeve on the other arm. Bunch of different hairstyles. You can have the hair two different colors. There's just a ton of options. Tattoos, scars. You can have like ornaments on your character's hair, necklaces, and a lot of other things. So you can really go all out and create really top-notch characters. So I really enjoyed the character creator. Like I said, I spent like half an hour just tweaking. And then when I was done, I liked the way my character turned out. So I actually saved, so I'm hoping we can carry the saved like character template over to the full game. If not, I'll just have to create the character I created again. But character creator gets an instant 10 out of 10. It's the best of any Souls game because some of them don't really let you actually customize your character, like Sekiro, most recently. And the ones that do, like Bloodborne and Dark Souls, they don't have as many options, and your character won't end up looking like so dynamic, so cool. Now, moving on to the actual gameplay, I really like the blood codes that they have, which is essentially classes in any other RPG. The difference is that you don't actually pick one when you start, because other RPGs you'll pick like a class, and that'll be your class for the rest of the game, or maybe you can change it later, but that's like your starting class, which determines like your starting stats and your predetermined playstyle. Here, instead, you start off with three, at least in the beta you do, and you can swap them on the go. to fit whatever circumstance you're facing, or if you just want to try a different play style. And as you go from like fighting enemies and meeting NPCs and just discovering in the world, you'll find more blood codes. So in the end, at the end of the beta, I had like I think it was like 9 or 10 different codes, blood codes, which means 10 different play styles essentially. Each blood code will determine like the blood code you have equipped will determine what stats your character has, such as strength and dexterity and whatnot. And it'll also determine which skills and magics, which are called gifts, you can use. So you can have 8 abilities on a hotbar. So you really have a lot of flexibility to the skills you want to take into combat. Each blood code has its predetermined like playstyle, like what it's good at. Like some of them are good at supporting allies. Others are good at close range combat. Others are good at range combat or using magic. And those are not only the stats you get, but also the skills. There are skills such as increasing your attack or defense for a set amount of time. You can power up your next attack. You can also use combat skills such as smash, for example, with a great sword that gives you some AOE. You can do like a launch attack. All of these they have cooldowns, and they do take resource. They do spend a resource whenever you use them, which you can replenish on the field from enemies. So I really had a lot of fun like trying out different codes and seeing like what the skills would do and how they would fit my play style. I really like the weapons. Like they're not really like super crazy like the Bloodborne weapons, for example. They don't transform or have all these crazy move sets, but they all look cool and they all have like their own play style. Some of them are slower, some of them are faster. And the you can guard in this game, but the guard actually takes into account like the weapon's defense to determine how much damage you actually like block. So I do like the blood code system because of the flexibility it allows. However, I do have a bit of a problem with it as well, which I'll discuss later when I get to like more like the negatives. So moving on to the combat, I really like the just hitting enemies, the hack and slash. There was good feedback from the weapon. Each hit, I felt each hit. When I hit an enemy, it felt great. It looked good, like the animations as you slashed around the enemy, and you could see them noticeably like recoiling and being knocked back from whenever you got like a big hit. So it definitely felt great to fight, and it was fun fighting enemies. Now moving on to the actual NPC, the companion, which is probably one of the things that I like the most. So in this game, you do have an NPC and a companion. I don't know if it's gonna be 100% of the time, or if there's gonna be like maybe points in the game where you can't have an NPC. But at least in the beta, you always had someone with you. And what this does is that it makes it so that if you don't have anyone to play with, or you just don't want to have like an actual other player with you, you can still have someone helping you. The NPC will fight with you. They can perform backstabs mid combat. They won't like they're smart. They won't aggro anyone for you. They'll basically stay behind you, and they'll only engage enemies if you actually get aggroed. So it's great. This is great because if you're low on health, maybe you don't want to pick a fight. You want to like move past a group of enemies. You can do that, and you don't have to worry that the NPC will go and aggro them for you, and then you have to fight. The other thing is that you can just run past any enemies that do aggro you, and the NPC won't stay behind fighting and potentially die like without you being able to help them. Instead, if you run past a crowd of enemies which aggro you, if you get a certain distance away, the NPC ally will just teleport and appear next to you. This is great for those moments when you know where the boss is and you just want to make a beeline straight from the rest point all the way to the boss to keep retrying. You don't have to worry about losing your ally before you get to there or having to fight and waste resources and time and enemies. which is that's great that they're that smart, and they'll just help you in combat. They'll tank for you, which means they'll just have the enemy will aggro them, turn to them, giving you a chance to get some free hits safely from behind. They can also resurrect you, which is probably the most useful thing they do. If you die, they can actually consume some of their HP to bring you back to life with a bit of HP, so you can instantly heal and keep fighting. So dying is not the end. And they'll do this multiple times, like so long as they have health, because it seems they have a limited amount of heals like you do. So if you fight too much and they're out of heals and whatnot, they'll die. Like if they're low on health, they can't heal anymore, and they'll die. And if they die, you won't get them back until you rest or you die yourself. But they can resurrect you multiple times, so long as they have the HP to do it. Meaning that if you die for whatever reason, it's not the end of the road. And you can also revive them if they happen to die, so that you can keep them on the field with you. So this is great. I really enjoyed them because having the extra like companion with you, because they'll help you fight, they'll help you farm, but they're also provide some noise for you, like some like they'll talk, and the dialogue that they have is smart because it relates to what you're doing. If you pick up items, they'll ask you like if you found something useful. If you heal and if you're low on heals, they'll be like better watch your regeneration so that you don't run out. If you're low on health, they'll actually say like, hey, leave this to me, back off and heal. So it shows that they're smart. Like they'll actually pay attention to what you do and comment on it, which can be helpful. Maybe you don't realize that you're low and they'll actually tell you, allowing you to back away. Or maybe you don't notice that you're low on heals, they'll also let you know. So that's good. It's great that you don't have to be like completely alone. You can choose to be alone though. At the rest point, you can choose like you can change your companion. There's several NPCs you can have with you, and each of them have their playstyles and skills, which is also another good thing about this system. They all have their playstyles and their skills that they have, and there's actually a passive a skill that you have depending on which companion you have, that they will provide like a certain buffs or debuff, like maybe they'll increase your attack but decrease your defense, for example. So that adds to like the RPG and the planning that you can select the NPC that suits your playstyle the best. So you can choose to go without one. So for anyone that doesn't want to have like the extra assistance and wants to make the game harder on themselves, you can do that. You can just remove the NPC out of the equation altogether. But it was really fun having the NPC. And from this I can segue into the multiplayer. So the Souls games always had like a bit of a weird multiplayer system. You couldn't just invite your friends over to play with you or just match make and find someone. Instead, you had to do, they were always kind of convoluted and had several prerequisites for you to actually play with someone. Here it's a lot simpler, which is nice. So all you have to do is open you hit the options. So basically bring up your inventory, and in the menu you can select multiplayer, and it'll allow you to either search for someone that called for help or call for help yourself. And if you want to play with friends, you can just do like the Souls games do, which you just set a code. Your friend sets the same code, and then when you send the signal and they ask to look for it, it'll match you because you have the same code. So it was fast. So the moment we wanted to play together, it was fast. It was easy, no delays, and we were able to just go on and play with it. It wasn't like I remember Dark Souls 3, for example, that you had to write on the floor, and sometimes your friend wouldn't see the writing, and it was like too many like prerequisites. So it's nice that here is just to the point, easy. You can play with people. Now, when you actually play with someone, the host keeps their NPC ally, meaning that there's three of you on the battlefield together, which makes things easier, a lot easier. I don't know if it scales, like maybe if you have a companion, it's harder. I don't know if maybe if you take out the NPC, the enemies are easier. And then if you have all three of you, it's a lot harder. Or if it didn't seem that way, it seemed like it was just the same enemies, but there was three of us, so we could like pummel them to the ground. And then what's good about the multiplayer here is that in the Souls games, if any of you died, that's it. If the host dies, the whoever joined gets sent back to their world, and if the one that joined dies, then they die, then the host is alone, and then you have to run back and do the whole process again. In this game, however, if you die, if any of you die of the players, you can do the same thing that the NPC does for you. You can revive them at the cost of some HP, and the NPC will revive either of you. So you have a ton of margin for error, and it means that play sessions won't end so prematurely, so long as you can hit the button at the right time, or your NPC has their health and they can do it for you. So that's nice. And now, as far as the difficulty goes, it's a good point to talk about it. It doesn't get like it does get easier, of course, if you have a lot of people, but the game is not easy. We still died several times, and we still got wiped a few times because enemies hit hard, and there's a lot of them. Like there will be a bunch of dogs that would like gang up on you, and then there was this big guy with a sword also trying to smack you. You will have ranged enemies shooting at you while you were fighting a bunch of close range enemies. So enemies are numerous and they're pretty close to one another, so usually it's hard to fight them 1v1. So the game is still hard and you still have to be on your toes. And then the bosses were designed with two players in mind because there were two bosses, well, three bosses that were a single boss, but there was two of them that it was actually two bosses. So if you went in, you and your NPC companion, it was an even 2v2. And I found that the AI would actually split that way. Like I never saw the two bosses ganging up on my NPC ally or on myself. Like I think they did do it a few times, but most of the time I saw that each boss would like rush one of us, so it was always like a 1v1, which means that just because you have someone else with you doesn't mean that you'll always be able to have the boss facing away while you can like hit them in the back and then back away until they aggro your companion. So the game is still hard. It still has its difficulty, so that's nice. So now a few things that I did not like. It's a few minor things. So the first one is the backstabbing. I want them to add like something to make it more obvious when you can backstab, because the thing is, I would walk up to an enemy slowly, and I couldn't backstab them because either I would hit the actual melee button to backstab them, and I would either just swing at them normally and not do the backstab, or before I got close and like really close, they would stand up and turn around. So I didn't know if maybe they were like spotting me because I was walking slowly. So I don't know if maybe there's something else you have to do so that they don't spot you. And I wasn't able to really gauge what was the right distance to actually backstab. I was only able to pull off the backstab, like the normal backstab when an enemy doesn't is not aware of you. Only like two or three times. So I played Sekiro recently, so I'm used to now having like the little red circle that enemies get when you can backstab them. So it would be nice if they could add some indicator when you were in range, so that you can perform the backstab more efficiently, easier. The other thing is the leveling up. So you here it's like other Souls games. You kill enemies, they drop a resource for you. You pick it up, you take it back to the rest area. You can level up. If you die, you drop it. Though in this game, which is another nice thing that I didn't mention, if you do die and you discovered the map, it'll mark where you dropped it on the map. So you don't have to remember exactly where you died. That wasn't really a problem because you die and you immediately just go to it, so you're not gonna forget. But it's a nice touch. So that resource you can level up. Now the thing is that you just level up, you just hit level up, and that's it. Your HP and your stamina go up, and the damage of your weapons go up. But that means that you don't have the extra flexibility that you have, for example, in Neo or in Bloodborne and Dark Souls, that you could put your levels into a specific stat. So if you were like heavy on strength, you wanted to have heavier armor and use heavier weapons, or a weapon that maybe scaled on strength, you could just put all your points into strength and be just a strength, you know, a strength character. Here, you can't do that. You just level up, and that's it. Your base stats don't actually go up. You can't increase them. The only way you increase them is with the blood code you have on, and also there's the only piece of armor that you have in this game, as far as I saw, was like a little. It was either a little cape that you could wear, or maybe a jacket you wore on your shoulders, or maybe just a full like trench coat. So that's the only way to buff like your stats. So I guess they did it because they want you to your playstyle to be determined by the code that you have, and then you can further enhance it with the choice of armor. But this feels a bit limited because it means that if there's a code that has skills that you really want to use, but maybe that code does not have the stats for the weapon that you like to use, that means that you either have to use a weapon you don't want to use to be in line with that code, or use a code for the weapon that you like, but maybe that code doesn't have skills that you like. So if you could level up a specific stat, then you could bypass this. Use whatever code you like and whatever weapon you like, and use the actual stat increases of leveling up to make up for any difference in the stats. So I was really disappointed to see that you can like further enhance your play style, or maybe be like a hybrid, because you can wield two weapons at the same time. So, and change the code on the fly. So you could be able to just have two codes that you really like, and then have the two weapons that you really like, and have your stats and your armor help to maybe make both playstyles viable, and then you can just swap them around. So it's a minor thing because it is nice that you always get extra HP and stamina. You don't have to actually do it like in, for example, Dark Souls. If you wanted to really go all the way until dexterity, you weren't gonna increase your stamina, which you had to hit the endurance for to increase your stamina. And HP, I don't remember if it was vitality, the stat that increased your HP. So if you wanted more HP and stamina, you had to put points into that. So here you just level up and you instantly get HP and stamina. So that's nice, but I would like to also have the ability to increase a specific stat. The next thing, and this is probably the last thing that really I didn't like. Now it's too early to tell, but I find that the level progression is I don't really like it, because the thing is that, again, it's too early to tell. It's just a beta, who knows? But you finish the prologue, you go to the base, which you can see like the Firelink Shrine, for example, is your base, your hub. You go, you can level up, buy stuff, there's vendors and NPCs, and then to hit the new area, the high level area, you have to talk to an NPC, and then you'll have to load into the area. What this means is that you don't get that sense of level progression that you do in, for example, in Bloodborne, or in Dark Souls, or in Sekiro, which you start off, you go through the level, and that level reaches into the next level, meaning that you would progress from level to level by just going forward, instead of having to actually go through like loading screen and have like the level be like a separate space and arena. It's just a level, you load into it, you do everything you do there, you finish, you go back to base, and then you load into a new area. Now that's not really anything bad, because I'm pretty sure Neo did that too. Yeah, Neo did that too, his missions. And you selected the mission, you had that one area, and that was just the mission area. Like, you couldn't progress from that area to the next. As soon as you finished, you got like a loading screen, and a cutscene, and then you had the map, and you could select the next mission. So it worked in Neo. I'm not saying it's bad necessarily, but I do prefer the Souls Bloodborne style of the levels just being all connected, and you just move forward from level to level without having to go to loading screens and going to the base and whatnot. But overall, those are just a few gripes. Oh, also, The I had a bit of a thing with the movements in this game, which my friend also agreed with me that it was a bit slow. Like the combat felt good when you were actually hitting enemies, but the actual act of trying to close the gap, like move towards an enemy and hit them, and maybe like dodge and move around them and all that, was a bit slow and clunky. So I feel like they should speed up a bit. I don't know, maybe it could have been the weapon I was using, because I was using a great sword, and it does say your movement slows. So maybe that's what was causing it. But I'm pretty sure early on in the prologue, I didn't have that heavy of a weapon, and I still felt that, you feel a bit too slow and clunky while moving around and actually trying that. You don't have that momentum when you're actually pushing forward. When you're up in an enemy's face hitting them, it feels great, but when you actually have to like move up to them and maybe duel with them, like move to the side and dodge and whatnot, it doesn't feel as snappy or as fast as I would like, which for a game like this is not really a good feel. Maybe they can iron that out by the time it releases, but it wasn't a deal breaker. Like I said, I still enjoyed this game greatly. So that'll be a wrap for this video. That was pretty much everything. I'm not really gonna comment on the story or anything. So far, it seems like it's gonna be interesting, but I'll have to, we'll have to wait and see for the actual release to see if the story, because it's doing a story like an actual story. It's not doing like the Soulsborne games where the story is more obscure. You get actual cutscenes and you get actual, like, there's actual background story and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see if they can pull off a decent enough story. So that'll be it for this video. I really enjoyed the game. I'm looking forward to its release, and I'll probably buy it. Like, if there's other games in that release window, maybe I would not buy it immediately, but I'm certainly gonna buy it at some point. I really enjoy the Soulsborne games, and after playing Sekiro, I still have the urge to play like more of that type of game. Neo 2 is also close, well, not close to release, but they had the close alpha recently, so that'll be two games to kind of scratch that itch. So hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned. If you didn't get to play the beta, hopefully you learned a few things about what the game is shaping up to be. So maybe you can make your own mind. This isn't really a review, more like first impressions. So if you did play the beta, leave comments down below. Let me know what you thought of it. If you enjoyed it, if you're looking forward to it, if you're gonna buy it, and if you didn't, what do you think of what you saw, what you've seen, heard, not only from me but from other people that have covered the game. So do leave all of that down there, and please do drop a like if you enjoyed and subscribe for more. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.